may lead me to continue to take care of that first and ignore the relationship. The self-awareness kicks in with the inner observer saying, wow, I'm observing that my husband needs me in this moment. This is a really important relationship to me, and the kitty litter box can probably wait 20 minutes, right? So I think we first start with the inner observer in terms of how we operate out in the world. Then we look from an Enneagram perspective at what areas of my life are needing attention, right? So if I'm finding that where I'm really struggling is with a particular aspect of my life where I'm not feeling connected, I'm feeling like I'm overworked, I'm exhausted, whatever that category is. And then we say to ourselves, okay, as an Enneagram type 1, I'm now feeling like I'm too critical, I'm too hard on myself, and it's not serving me. So what can I learn from my 2, my 9, my 4, and my 7, because they're all resources for us. What can I learn about this instinctual drive I have to always want to connect with a person? So when I go into a party setting, am I working the room, or am I just really comfortable sitting with one person and having a deep conversation all night long? How would I feel, perhaps, if I just pushed my comfort zone a little bit and went out and mingled a little bit? So I think the answer to your question is there is no one answer. I think it's a function of what's showing up for us.
What's not working?
What's not working? Where am I suffering? Yeah. And what can I learn from the Enneagram system that can help make one aspect of that more bearable?
Very good. Thank you. So what, from my own experience, let me just finish this thought, so what was really helpful for me with the Enneagram, as I said, it was, okay, who's been filming me all my life? That was the feeling. It's like, oh my God, someone has me just totally nailed every experience in different stages of my life. And when I was in seminary, I twice went into the 4, like just crashed and burned. And at the end, this was 5 years into my seminary training, where what happened was all of my insecurities, all of my lack of self-esteem, all of my lack of confidence just all came up. And I became like this non-functional almost. I couldn't sleep. It was the only time in my life, it was about 2 weeks, I couldn't sleep. I would go to bed, I'd fall asleep, and then I'd be awake at 2. And so I started decompensating. I mean, you're not sleeping. I would try to eat, I couldn't eat. My stomach would just clench, I would feel sick. And so for about 2 weeks, all I was doing was going to my room and crying, because I was falling apart. I was totally into all of the negativity of the 4 wing. And, okay, so I went through all that, and then I couldn't put myself forward for ordination when I talked to the rector of the seminary. But there was always this feeling of like, what the hell was that? And I didn't have a reference point for it. And I thought, don't ever go there again. That was about the only thing that I had. And then when I heard the Enneagram, it was like, oh my God, this makes perfect sense. This is where I went. This is why I was feeling this way. Great, it's all normal. Because I really thought I had a mental breakdown or something. I realized I had an emotional breakdown, which I needed to, because I wasn't ready. It was dawning on me about 1.5 years out from ordination. You're going to have to be up in front of people, and you better know what you're talking about. That's the one, and you better, and of course, all the cracks just, and we won't get into celibacy, we'll leave that out of the equation.
My basic question is, I'm fairly new to the Enneagram, and my reason for being here is because I'm trying to figure out how to get along with my daughter. And I am coming to realize that my daughter is very absorbed in being a 4. And so my real question is, what is the best way of getting along with a 4.
Well, if that book, The Enneagram Made Simple, does talk about things to say to a 4, what to do, how to shore up a 4. So there are, I don't know if you've read that.
Yes, I had it. It's
It
very brief.
is rather brief. You might want to have a conversation with Wendy. She may have some ideas. Do you know your own type?
I think I'm a 5.
I would agree. I think you're definitely in the 4, 5, 6 area.
That's a challenging bridge.
Definitely talk to Wendy. So we can very briefly just look at, because that's one of the things on the app, is tips. Okay, to get along with a 4, validate my emotional reality and my pain. Don't insinuate I'm crazy or unreasonable, because, 4s are pretty intense, and you're not going to be comfortable with the intensity, so you're going to want to draw them back from the intensity. You're going to say, well, that's a bit much. How about if you kind of pull it in a bit? Well, just think when you're in that place. If someone says to you, you're just too weepy today, or you're too whatever, can you kind of pull it in a bit? Well, that doesn't feel very satisfactory. So that's not a good thing to do, and that's one thing that 4s often complain about, is that people just don't have the patience or the tolerance or the understanding of the depth of their pain.
Yeah.
Are you a 4?
No, but we have family members who go there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
On the phone for 2 hours marrying you. That's not
right. Yeah. So you may think you've great empathy and great mirroring skills, and as he said, 2 hours on the phone and you're now suicidal. You want to hang up. Give them space to process when they're spiraling. When I was totally out of control, at the same time, I think it would have been helpful, because of course, I was just hiding this. No one knew. There was no one to talk to, because you can't in seminary back in those days. You couldn't. Jesus. You couldn't bring this up, I did, and I got kicked out, basically. Don't brag or boast to me, I'll get jealous. Yeah, so just be aware that they're always looking at you as somehow having a better life than they are. And so if you're on about it, that's just going to kind of put them further into the hole. Never say, why can't you be more like, oh God. So again, if you're a parent, you know that better than to say that to any of your kids, but if you say it to the 4 especially, it's going to have a double-edged for the, Help me set aside time for my creativity. So if you can channel them into their creativity, that's obviously going to be good. Expressing, what they're feeling. Drawing, painting. Remind me what I do well. Compliment me. Yeah. So again, doesn't this apply to all of us? Whether you're 1, 9, 5, 4, kind of mirror back to people what they are good at. Don't go into problem-solving mode with me. Yeah. And that's, and again, well, it's interesting. Obviously, as a 5, you want more information, first of all, about yourself and about them and how to solve this. So that could be a rabbit hole for you, thinking, okay, there's a video out there somewhere, if only I can find it, that tells me how to relate to my 4 daughter. So, but that's not to say that you can't get good information. There is information, but 4s are going to be 4s, just as 1s are going to be 1s, and just let them be 4s, And having said that, obviously, I can imagine that if you're in a relationship with a family member who's a 4, there is some concern, because they're often on the edge of feelings. They're depressed. They're suicidal, and it is worrisome and it is troublesome. How do I handle this? And I'm not putting down your concern, because they can be going down the rabbit hole of melancholia, which is not good. I would say hopefully they have some place to go, like a therapist or someone who can maybe help them. And sometimes maybe there's, medicine involved, that some people need the edge taken off. That's also maybe part of the, for a time. We all go through periods where maybe just being on an antidepressant for 6 months might actually help, because it takes the highs and the lows off and puts us in a more balanced place. I don't want to do small talk. I want meaning. So again, that's like, it's got to do with the intensity. Small talk doesn't work. Remind me to be kind to myself and gentle to myself. Take my intuitive sense of things seriously. And again, 4s are very intuitive and can be very psychic and, all of that. Tell me you're here to stay. Keep commitments. So that's like interpersonally. And then at work, assets, relational, adaptable, and creative. So they're very interested in the relationships at work, more so than the goal of the project. They're creative, not driven by money, can think abstractly, keen eye for beauty, can have sudden insight, highly aware of human needs and relationships. So again, they're the touchy-feely who can kind of have their finger on the pulse of office relationships, etc. Able to be both empathic and analytical. And that's a great skill. They have both ends of the spectrum going on there. Prioritizes excellence and authentic expression. So sometimes excellence becomes the obsessive point, if you will. Work is enhanced by search for value and meaning. So you may think that you are offering them a pay raise, or you're giving them more vacation, or you're giving them something, and you think, oh, I'm really doing a good thing here. And that may not be it for them. They may enjoy some kind of, something that would give them more creativity instead. Find or create value in work that isn't ideal. That's a challenge for them. So again, the mundane is tough. The day-to-day stuff is tough. Be cautious with negative emotional reactions. That's a challenge for them. Watch for unnecessary caretaking. That's a challenge for them. Take things less personally, be more pragmatic. Again, that's a tough one, because then you start getting into minimizing their feelings if you're saying, don't, take things less personally. Balance over-involvement, withdrawal cycle. So they can tend to bounce being too involved and then disappearing. So, you can imagine someone at church who is there and then they're not there, and then you think, oh, what happened? And was it something I said, of course, being the one? And then no, they're just in their cycle of withdrawal, and maybe it's seasonal affective disorder. Maybe that's something that they deal with a lot. And then they'll show up. Let's see. Celebrities: Michael Jackson, Johnny Depp, Kurt Cobain, Alanis Morissette, Bob Dylan, Carrie Fisher, Tom York. No idea who that is, but Blanche Dubois from Golden Girls. Oh no, that's Streetcar Named Desire. Yeah. Claire Fisher, 6 Feet Under. Winnie the Pooh, Eeyore. Eeyore. That's the Irish version. Yeah. Oh my God, Fleabag. Yeah, politician, historical figure: Steve Jobs, Vincent van Gogh, chopping your ear off, Michelangelo, Lawrence of Arabia, Edgar Allan Poe, J.D. Salinger, Rudolf Nureyev, Sylvia Plath, Mary Oliver, great poet. Okay, anybody want to share? And I know it's tough for 4s, maybe share. So, the great thing about the Enneagram is that, and I know that this has happened because I've had feedback on this, that someone said that this was an eye-opener because they understood their mother for the first time ever. No, I mean, I'm serious. That, you come here maybe thinking this is for me, I'm going to learn about myself. And next thing, it's like, oh my God, that's my mother, or my father, or it's my son or my daughter, or it's my spouse. And it is life-changing information. It really is. And I know that you're having these experiences because people have told me, in addition to what you're learning about yourself. And so this obviously, if you're a 1, then this also pertains to you, because that's where you go when you fall apart. And if you're a 7, is it? That's where you go.
So the 147
The
is
147.
the harmony triad, right, which brings the heart
The
from
head.
the 4, the head from the 1, and the body from the 1 and the head from the 7.
Right.
So other than the process Enneagram. So I think 147 is a great resource for each other.
Right. And then it's the 4, the 1, and the 2.
The 4, the 1, and the 2 is the
Yeah,
process.
so you if you're a 2 or a 1, you'll also relate to this, that you spend time in this position also, whether it's, good position or you're down in the depths. Any comments from anybody?
I just have a sister. I have a sister who fits this completely, absolutely, on every level. It's like frightening. I mean, I've always known she was a 4, but it's beyond the beyond. And me being a 1, I think, she pushes my buttons.
But what about areas that you now maybe see that you have in common? That when you've been in the 4 position, does that open up more empathy?
Not at the moment.
Very honest. See, a 1 will tell you the truth. Whether you're going to hear it or not.
4 going to the 2, what about the 2 using the 4?
Okay. So let's see, 4 goes to the 2 for a strength position, correct?
So it's
And
4,
and the
8.
2, 4, 8, and then
So 2 goes to 8 as their path of stress, and 2 goes to 4 as their path of growth.
growth.
Yeah.
Getting outside of the need to please other people and becoming more intimate with their own needs.
Yeah. Does that answer that? Yeah. I have to have the grid in front of me to do that. It starts to get confused, my poor brain.
Well, I definitely recognize my grandson, and he's always been unique, and I think they're unique people. I love all of the different personalities that have surrounded me in my lifetime, especially him. And one of the things that happened when he was staying with me in the 8th grade, when his parents had gone to Europe, he would get in the car and he wanted to hear the tape, the 4 Agreements. And he actually was so mesmerized by that. And I think it really helped his perspective of dealing with people who, because if you're outstanding, you're going to have a lot of people who are going to be ridiculing you.
Don't take things personally, isn't that one of the, that's a power statement. And that's one of the things actually that I'm enjoying about the Enneagram and Unity, is that I'm realizing that a lot of our affirmations cover the circle. All is well. That's an affirmation for all of us, but like if you're in that insecure place of the 6, to be told that all is well, it's like, oh, okay, I can drop that frenetic, overactive stimulated nervous system and rest in the place of all is well. Or I am whole, perfect, and complete. I was actually thinking of one of the sessions having a couple of songs. And, the songs that we sing, no wonder I am whole, perfect, and complete. It's like from my head right down to my feet. Perfect. Wonderful. So we have all of these antidotes to all of the negative sides of the positions. And then, of course, the other one that we sang on Sunday, which works for everybody, but How could anybody ever tell
love
you
that.
you were anything less than beautiful? See? So there you go. You're soothing the sore point of so many of these points on the Enneagram, and that's all part of the integration.
I just wanted to also offer one last insight into fours. So fours, as we've come to learn, really, for them, feelings are the coin of the realm. And so when you're with a four, denying them the opportunity to express their feelings is like cutting off their oxygen. And at the same time, when they're going down the path of really kind of getting into it, reminding them that equanimity is their place of, where they're moving toward, which is to say that all feelings have a resting point. And so equanimity is that balance point that allows the four to really come home to themselves. In doing the work with fours, I find that Byron Katie's work is super helpful, because it's recognizing that the equivalency that fours often have in their minds, that feelings are the truth, can oftentimes get them sort of to the place where they're not, that's their reality distortion. So using the Byron Katie process, right, of is that true, and can you tell me how it's true, and can you give me examples of what it would be like if you didn't have that?
And how's the opposite?
And how's the opposite of it is a really great process for fours. So.
Thank you. So I want to say, each one of you, you're unique, you're special. I appreciate you, and I hope you appreciate yourself. And that's the gift that the four gives to each one of us this morning. Oh, anybody who was not here, if you want to sign up on the sign-up sheet, just your name and address. And then handouts, did anybody not get a handout? There's one over here, too. Thank you. You didn't get one. Oh, two. Here we go. There's one for you. There's one for you. Welcome. And then there's one for Anne over here as well, another one.
There we go. We'll have some more next.
And thank you to my 7 trusted assistant, as always. Okay, see you next week when we'll discuss the 5. And thank you, Wendy, as always.